Welcome back, everybody. It is Jeff and Justin here. We are the Frustrated Rockstars, your professional music fans. Thank you so much for joining us live on MP4 for some talk and roll. And, of course, we are at the Atlanta Brewing Company. Tonight, the headliner we're going to talk about...
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Now, these are the guys in rock and roll who aren't in rock and roll, actually.
But they coulda, and they woulda, and they shoulda.
That's right. The guys that were in bands before they made it. And of course, the main example is Pete Best of the Beatles.
He is the yardstick. He is the,
the yardstick. I mean, he did all the grunt work.
He could have been a Beatle.
They made a movie about the years at the Cavern in Germany and Hamburg.
Played 3 shows a night. Yeah. Whacked out on white crosses trying to stay awake.
And as soon as they made it back to London and got signed, boom, fired. They got Ringo because he was prettier.
Well, it was the hot drummer in town for whatever reason.
So Pete Best had to live the rest of his life as the Beatle that almost made it.
So he's a woulda.
Yeah.
He would have been
had he been a little bit cuter. That's what I think, right?
Yeah, he would have been. So he's a woulda.
And then there's another one for the Police.
Sure.
Power trio. They were originally Stuart Copeland, Sting, and a guy named Henry Padavani.
He had a cool look too. I remember. I've seen pictures of him. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't his looks. He had a cool look.
Right, but he didn't have the technical ability that Sting was looking for.
No.
And they discovered Andy Summers or became aware of him.
Andy Summers is very underrated. He's kind of like Mark Knopfler. There's not a lot of notes, but the notes he plays are just...
You can't just play them. You can't just pick up a guitar and play them.
No.
You have to really know how to play. Yeah. So they axed him, and he played. But funny enough, later on, Ian Copeland, Stuart Copeland's brother, who was the head of IRS Records, gave him a job as VP of IRS Records.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, in like the 80s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they kind of threw him a bone. And
he's a shoulda. Shoulda practiced some more.
Yeah, shoulda practiced.
Shoulda practiced some pentatonic scales.
One of my favorites is there was a bass player in Van Halen before Wolfgang. No, I'm just kidding. There was one before Michael Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
When they were still called Mammoth, it was David Lee Roth, Eddie, and Alex, and this guy, Mark Stone. I don't think he was as committed. And they just saw Michael Anthony, and Michael Anthony was singing in a band, so they knew they needed a background vocalist.
So he's a coulda.
He's coulda, yeah.
Because if he had just wanted it a little more, he could have had it.
Right, he could have, yeah.
So he's a coulda.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a perfect woulda, shoulda, coulda. I swear to God, that was extemporaneous. But that's a woulda, coulda, shoulda right there.
Now, how about Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, who was in Metallica?
Sure. Well, the interesting thing is there were people in Metallica before Dave Mustaine, before the band even did a record. So what are those guys? I mean, those guys were cut loose long ago.
Right.
I guess those are couldas.
Right. But
Dave Mustaine,
he was in the band when they got signed and made their first record.
He's a coulda too, because if he could have been a fun drunk and not a mean drunk, I think it would have been okay. Because he's a great player. Right. He's a songwriter, and he had the look.
But I think of all these guys, he probably had the most success in music.
Oh, God, he had a huge career.
All right, let's do some solo riffs.
Brett Tuggle. Never heard of him, huh? Well, guess what? He was on the Rick Springfield tour. He was on the David Lee Roth tours. He actually wrote Just Like Paradise, a top 10 hit. He was on the Fleetwood Mac tours. He's one of these great unsung musicians you never hear about, but yet you've probably all seen live one time or another. Here's to you, Brett.
Let's do an encore now, shall we? This is from Miss Cook 98. This is a comment on YouTube on our show about supergroups. We talked about supergroups, and we missed one.
I recollect.
We missed one. Speaking of supergroups, I recently heard of a band called Tinted Windows, featuring members of Fountains of Wayne, Hanson, Cheap Trick, and Smashing Pumpkins. It's an eclectic mix, but they actually play awesome power pop. This, I can't wait. Is this out? Do they have an album out?
I can't believe I forgot this one. Yeah, they are. It's Adam Schlesinger on bass from Fountains of Wayne. It's Taylor Hanson from Hanson singing. The Chinese guy from Smashing Pumpkins is on guitar. And Bun E. Carlos. So he's Cheap Trick on drums.
I like having the oldest guy on drums.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I mean, he is old. I saw a picture of him. He's like 60 with gray hair. If you guys want on YouTube, you can hear the single's called Kinda Girl.
Tinted Windows.
Tinted Windows. It's total power pop.
Oh, we got to check that out. Great supergroup. And I love new supergroups.
That's a good one.
By the way, the encore was brought to you tonight by Teaseria.com. You can order some great shirts.
Hey, get a shirt.
Just like this. You order like a pizza, the size, the design, the color. It's all custom made, and they deliver it to you in the pizza box. Papa Duce, baby.
Come on.
So until next time, hey, enjoy your music.
Enjoy your music.
You like the juice, huh?
I like the juice.
Juice is good.